All right, so today we're going deep on something pretty wild. We're talking assassination plots, presidential orders, uh, the whole nine yards.
Yeah, this one's a doozy.
We've got these excerpts from news.com, right? Some legal documents, too, laying it all out. And let's just say it's, well, a lot to unpack.
Definitely raises some eyebrows, big time.
So the basic gist, right, it's about this potential Iranian plot. They were supposedly targeting former President Trump. And, well, his response, let's just say it was pretty intense.
Intense is putting it lightly.
He basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but like if they even try it, Iran's getting obliterated. No more Iran. Gone.
Yeah, those were his words, pretty much. And that's what's really got people talking, right? I mean, the implications here are huge. This isn't just like some small-scale retaliation, you know? This could blow up into something way bigger.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to try to figure out today. What does all this mean? Where could it lead? So, okay, let's start with what Trump actually said. The news article, they mentioned this interview, right, where someone asks him, like, point blank, what happens if Iran, actually manages to assassinate him? And his response, word for word, is, I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. I mean, that's a pretty heavy statement, even for him.
Oh, absolutely. No mincing words there. And it kind of throws a whole bunch of questions out there, like what does obliteration even mean, really, in a military sense, I mean? Are we talking nukes, massive airstrikes, full-on invasion? Like each of those, that's a whole different can of worms, right? With different risks, collateral damage, the whole shebang.
Right, right. And then there's the whole legality of it, like does international law even allow for that kind of response?
Yeah, good point. I mean, usually, international law, diplomacy, all that, it's all about more measured approaches, right? Proportionality, all that. A preemptive strike on that scale, that would probably have the whole world up in arms, Could really screw up diplomatic relations big time. Sets a pretty scary precedent, too.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, let's back up a bit, right? Get into the nitty-gritty of this alleged plot. The legal documents we have, they focus on this guy, Farhad Shakari, Afghan national, living in Tehran. What's his story?
So Shakari, he's an ex-com, and seems he's got some ties to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. U.S. prosecutors, they're alleging he was basically given orders straight from an Iranian official to come up with a plan to, take out Trump.
Well, and their motive, they say, is payback for that drone strike back in 2020, the one that took out General Soleimani.
Exactly. Soleimani, he was a major player in Iran, military intelligence, the whole deal. Taking him out, that was a massive turning point in U.S.-Iran relations. Things went downhill fast after that.
Yeah, no kidding. But this whole thing with Shakari, it supposedly went down after Trump was already out of office, right?
Yeah.
Seems kind of strange, targeting him then, if it was about revenge.
Yeah, the timing is definitely weird. Prosecutors, they're saying those orders, the ones Shakari supposedly got, they were giving on October 7th.
Okay, and why is that date important?
Well, October 7th, that's the anniversary of a pretty big terror attack. Happened in Israel, carried out by Hamas, and Hamas, everyone knows, they're backed by Iran.
Ah, I see. So picking that specific date, it wasn't just random, huh?
Nope. Almost certainly deliberate, sending a message, trying to tie this whole assassination thing to, like, a bigger narrative. Resistance against Israel, the West, all that. Framing it as, like, not just revenge, but part of this, like, ideological war.
Man, that's a whole other layer to this, isn't it? Speaking of layers, this Shakari guy, his role in all this seems kind of fuzzy. What exactly did he do, or not do, rather?
Right. So prosecutors are saying he basically told law enforcement that he dragged his feet. They gave him 7 days to come up with an actual plan, for the assassination. And he just kind of stalled. And that delay, apparently, that's what made the Iranians hit pause on the whole operation.
So he might have actually stopped it then? I mean, inadvertently, but still.
Could be.
Yeah.
He also supposedly said that the Iranian government, they were kind of banking on Trump losing the election, figured he'd be easier to hit as a former president, less risk of like immediate, fire and fury coming back at them.
Geez, that's pretty messed up when you think about it.
Yeah.
Them like strategically planning this stuff out makes you wonder what else they might be cooking up, right?
No doubt. Really underscores how shaky things are between the U.S. and Iran. We've got decades of bad blood, sanctions, military crap, proxy wars, the whole shebang. This plot, whether it went anywhere or not, it just adds fuel to the fire, you know what I mean?
Yeah, big time. And then, on top of all that, you've got Trump, right? dropping that whole obliteration bomb. How does that even fit into this whole mess?
Yeah, so Trump's rhetoric, that's a whole other problem. He just throws gasoline on the fire, raises all these questions about how the U.S. might actually respond and what that would even look like. Would a future administration actually go there, carry out that threat? And if they did, what would happen to the rest of the world? These aren't just theoretical questions anymore, man. This stuff has real-world consequences.
No kidding. So much to think about here. We've got this plot, might have been stopped, but still, it was real. And then you've got this extreme response, and like you said, it just throws everything up in the air. International law, diplomacy, all that. And somewhere in the middle of it all, you've got Shekari, this guy. What was he thinking? What made him do what he did?
Exactly. That's the human side of it, right? Was he a true believer? Scared? Some mix of both? Figuring out what made him tick, that could tell us a lot about how Iran's intelligence world actually works.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so we've covered a lot here. Let's try to, sum it all up, right? The big picture. We've got a potential hit on a former U.S. president, a response that's basically nuke him, and a whole lot of tension just bubbling under the surface. Feels like this whole thing could go sideways really fast. What are the big questions we should be asking going forward? What do you think?
Well, the biggest one to me is how does the U.S. deal with Iran from here on out? How do we minimize the risk of this escalating even further? Trump's response, maybe that's not how future administrations would handle it, but it shows us how important it is to have a clear strategy, one that takes all the complexities into account, thinks about the unintended consequences, and has a long-term goal of stability in the region. It's a tough one, that's for sure. No easy answers.
No, definitely not. This is one of those situations where we need to, think carefully, talk it out, really understand what's going on. It's a pretty stark reminder that everything's connected. What happens over there can affect us over here. And even something that seems small can have huge consequences.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.